Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, traders. Steve here at Logic FX Trading, and welcome to our trading room recording on Monday, the 26th of July, 2021. Okay, guys, last week was a bit of a nightmare. We had the big drawdown at the start of the week, and then we started to claw back some of it as the week went on. Yeah, that's what's going to happen, guys, when you're trading. If you're in any length of time, you're going to get battered some weeks, and other weeks you'll do really well. And it's just when you're getting battered, all hands on deck. Think really carefully about your portfolio, what it is you want to change, what you want to fix within it, what insurance policies you want to put in there. Sometimes insurance policies pay off. Last week, my insurance policy didn't pay off at all because gold didn't move long last week, which had been what had moved into away from growth stocks. Still have a few growth stocks around in the count there, guys, but it moved away from growth stocks into more mainstream mining and that type of thing. Just trying to think off the top of my head. I had BP and Royal Dutch Shell, but they both gave me a profit. I sold them off earlier in the month. But the miners were the thing that I had left over. Rio Tinto for, well, it's mixed. Rio Tinto's mixed, but was mainly for iron ore. And then obviously we got involved in gold through Kinross and I think it's Wheaton Precious Metals. But none of them went long last week, guys. So it was actually my insurance policy that stopped me getting a full recovery. But that's okay, guys, because insurance is one of those things that I'm pretty sure gold will go long at some point. And when it goes long, we'll get a good return on that. At the moment, I'd rather be in them than be in cash with that money. So that's okay. But as I say, the point of it is you've got to think about the balance of your portfolio, looking ahead, guys. Now, sometimes you'll turn right and you should have turned left, and sometimes you'll turn left when you should have turned right. But you need to stay in the game. That's the main thing. Don't overinvest in any particular one area, because the problem is if you get that one wrong, then it can really destroy your portfolio, guys. Okay, let's get on to this week. Economic news for this week. Let's just start out with that. 27th, which will be tomorrow. There's obviously, IFO business climate in Germany. Come in at 100, forecast 102. Don't think there's much to talk about there, guys. Durable goods orders, United States forecast 2.1. CB consumer confidence forecast 124. Let's see how they come in. Obviously, at the moment, anything to do with the United States, the figures can move the dollar in one direction or the other. I'm looking for a drop in the dollar from where it is. Doesn't mean that will happen, guys. It just happens to be what I'm looking for, because I think the dollar is going to run flat, and it's near the top of the little range that I have it running in. So we'll look at the chart in a moment. And remember, I could be wrong there. I closed out my short trades on the dollar last week because I chickened out as usual. I usually let them run for a week or two, and if they keep going the wrong direction, I just go, I'm out of here, and I close them. And that's not always the best policy, guys, but it's easy when you're getting it right with currencies, and it can be a nightmare if you get them wrong, because you just watch them going wrong week after week after week, and it erodes your confidence and your ability to analyze as well, guys. And you don't need that. So if you get it wrong, just go, I'm out of here. And then if you see a setup that looks good, have another go at it, and maybe you get it right that time. But the main thing is that when you get it right, try and make as much profit as you can out of it. And when you get it wrong, nip it in the bud. Okay. 28th, that will be Wednesday. We have Australian inflation rate. Be interesting. I'm looking for a bit of upside to the Aussie, but I don't know if we're going to get it or not. But that inflation rate may forecast 3.8, previous 1.1. This is all the problems, the headwinds that the world economies run into, not just the Australian economy, whereby we've got all of these problems of getting goods from A to B, firstly, and secondly, to have employees in to catch up in the backlog of all the lockdowns around the world over the last year or so, guys. So we are getting inflation from that. The Fed says it's transitory. A lot of other people are saying maybe it's not, but we need to keep an eye on it. This is going to be the story of the rest of this year, folks. Is it real inflation or is it not? I suspect that part of it, at least, is real inflation, guys. And if it turns out to be a bad story, if it turns out that this is real inflation and the transitory bit is a really small part of it, then that's where we could see the trigger for stock market to start to drop, and then you'll see, hopefully, gold and silver and what have you go long. Maybe Bitcoin goes long with it. We're still trying to work out exactly what Bitcoin is, guys. I know there's lots of people out there think they know what it is, but I'm talking about the market in general. Is it a currency? Don't think so, really. Is it a commodity? Probably more a commodity than a currency. And then does it react when you get a stock market crash? In other words, does it go up when the stock market crashes, or does it drop along with everything else? Remembering last year, everything dropped. When we had the big drop in March last year, everything went. There was nowhere to hide last year, guys. Except in currencies. Certain currencies did okay. And Canada core inflation rate, previous 2.8, no forecast on this. And then their inflation rate, forecast 3.2, previous 3.6. That's interesting. Well, let's see what it comes out as. Oh, Fed interest rate decision. Brilliant. We have a Fed interest rate decision this week, guys. And the press conference, which is, what day are we? 28th. Wednesday. That's the big call of the week, guys. That's the one we need to keep an eye on. Because if they're hawkish, we could see more upside to the dollar. Remember, that's if they're hawkish, we could see more upside to the dollar. So let's keep an eye this week. Remembering, if you can predict the dollar, you have a whole host of trades that you can possibly take. First of all, there's all the majors, and then usually the opposite direction with all the euro trades, guys. So there's maybe 20, that might be an exaggeration, but there's certainly 15 currency pairs that you could trade or look for setups if you can get the direction of the dollar correct. It's quite difficult at the moment, but there have been times in the past where it's just been every week, long the dollar, long the dollar, long the dollar. And that's the times when it's easy to make money in currency trading, guys. Germany unemployment change and unemployment rate for the 29th, which is Thursday. United States GDP, another one that's going to be interesting. 8.6%, previous 6.4%. But remember, the Fed are watching two things. One is inflation, but the other one's employment, guys. But there does seem to be a reluctance to go back to work for a lot of people. In other words, the jobs are out there, but people don't seem to want to rush back to them. But that'll change as, all the government subsidies start to drop away and one thing and another. People start to run out of money, and then they'll have to get back to work, guys. And then the 30th, which is Friday. Wow, we've a lot out on Friday. GDP growth rate, Germany, forecast 9.6, also high. Look, you haven't seen figures like that in years. Italy, 15.7 GDP. Forecast, remember. Core inflation rate, Eurozone, GDP, Eurozone. Core PCE in the United States and PCE, and then Michigan consumer sentiment final on Friday afternoon. So there's a lot to watch this week as far as currencies are concerned, guys. So it's going to be busy. Okay. Now, let's see if we can predict any of it and find a few trades out of it. Excuse me. I used to trade 100% currencies, guys. Now my currencies are probably 10% of the account because I'm just looking for something to keep me busy, you know. But when something starts to move and we're confident of its trend, you know, we'll start to trade more currencies. But you got to keep an eye on it to know what's going on, guys. You can't just, wait until it starts to happen, because by the time it filters through to you, it's already been going 2 or 3 weeks. So you need to keep an eye on it. Okay, Flipboard. I haven't been talking much about this for the last lot of weeks because it was making these recordings far too long. They were going into an hour and a half. So what I'll do is every now and again, we'll just go into it, remind you that it's there. I go through news stories anytime I've got 10 minutes to spare. I'll just go into Flipboard. I'll read the news stories from over here for you. And some of them will read, some of them will just see the headline. I'll go, oh, that's interesting. I'll flip it into here. And then it's available, obviously, for anyone to look at. Just 3 stories here we'll talk about. This was an interesting story, not from an investment and stock market's point of view, but just from a point of view of picking yourself up again and working and believing in yourself and doing it. And my story's pretty similar to this as well, guys. Not 5 times, but certainly 3 times. I've made really good money in life and saw it whittling away for one reason or another, either bad investments or poor relationship choices or whatever. But you just pick yourself up and you go again. You start from zero and you go again, guys. Coronavirus infects, and then at some point you hope it sticks. Especially when you're getting to the far end of your life. You'd like to go into retirement with it having worked rather than, the other way. Coronavirus infections continue to fall in the UK. This is a much bigger story than you might think, guys. You think, oh, it's just the UK. It's only one country. No, what's happening here is very important. We talked about it last week. And the reason it is, it's almost like a canary in the coal mine. That's how I see it. The UK has very high double vax numbers, very high single vax numbers, as percentage of population. And yet this Delta variant has been running rampant. And on top of that, last week in England, which is the biggest populated part of the UK, it has something like 80% of the population of the UK all live in England. They lifted all of the restrictions last week so far as COVID's concerned, other than maybe wearing a mask in certain places and one thing or another. But so far as lockdowns concerned, have all been lifted. So it'll take a couple of weeks for those numbers to come through, which we're a week in. So during this week and in the next week, we'll have to keep an eye on the Delta variant numbers. But here we have an interesting story. It's saying the numbers are falling at the moment. But these will be the numbers from before the lifting of the lockdown, guys. So this next couple of weeks is going to be very interesting. If they continue to fall, despite the fact that they've had a lifting of lockdown, then that will be seen as really, really good around the world, particularly in the United States of America, which is also pretty well vaccinated. I don't know what the exact proportions are between the UK and the US, but it's pretty similar. And then you'll maybe see another spurt in investment in the US. Nearly 900 million crypto short positions liquidated as BTC breaks 39,000, guys. I've started buying into Bitcoin again. I've only ever dabbled with it, guys, but I did say when it was way up at $50,000 and $60,000, I said, listen, when this thing corrects, I'll be interested in it again. Now, I was planning to build a position with it, but it went up so much. I bought into it last week sometime. Let me just pause it. I'll find it here, guys. Okay, there it is there. I bought into it. I have a Coinbase account, guys, and that's where I do my crypto trading, but I've been trying to avoid it in here because it's so volatile. It can either really boost your account or really undermine all the hard work you do. So I decided to get out of it. But it had dropped that much last week, I thought, on the 19th. It was that last Monday. last Monday, I decided, okay, let's put a little bit of money into Bitcoin again, because it had dropped 30,000, you can see there. And look what it did in the week. It went up $8,000 in the week, or near enough. So it was 23%. It just started coming off the top. And I think it was the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, guys. I just woke up and I thought, let me check that Bitcoin, because it had been going up. It was up 23%. I just thought, do you know what? Don't be greedy. Just take it. So I took it. And the plan will be that, as other people take, the chart will drop and I'll maybe buy back in again, guys. But that was a nice 23% for a week. It's a pity it was such a small position size. It was 1.5% of the account or something like that. But it was a nice little win after so many drawdowns, bits of drawdown last week. Intel had dropped last week as well, guys. Didn't like their the prospectus. I didn't like where it seemed to be going, so I just thought, well, I'm out of that. So I lost 9% there. But yet again, it's 9% of 1% or 1.5%. Can't remember the exact position size, guys. So it's not the end of the world. Okay, let's get back over to it. So that was those two. And then this analyst Jim Cramer called Ethereum the Pied Piper of crypto, but won't add to his position. Finance. He sold all his Bitcoin, according to this, removing Bitcoin from his portfolio, and he's chosen to invest in Ethereum. If he's not adding to his position, it's probably because he's fully loaded up on it. I had some Ethereum, but I switched it back to Bitcoin. I just thought I'd rather have it all in one. And now I don't know if changing to Bitcoin is the right thing to do or not, but it has gone up. But I assume Ethereum's gone up as well if Bitcoin's gone up, guys. So I'll keep my little Coinbase account. I'll just keep adding, a few $100s at a time to it every other week, or when the money's available. Just throw a little bit of money into it, guys, and just let it run for 5 or 10 years and see where it gets to. It's not something I'm going to trade. I'm not going to jump in and out of it, which is the reason why I decided to do it over there rather than here. And also I have a professional account, which is traded a lot more conservatively than anything I'm doing here in eToro, guys. But that's an account that, with Charles Schwab, that I've been running since way back in the 90s, guys. It's just a nice steady eddy in there. Okay, we'll not talk about that because it's boring, to be quite honest. It's long-term investing. It's not what we're doing here, which is trading. Okay. Where are we now? Charts. Oh, let's start with the yen, guys. Remember, we're looking to see if it would go long. I think the next time it'll go long will be the next time there's a drawdown in the market. So I hope that it continues to drop. I'll keep an eye to see if that's going to happen. There's no setup to trade that particular chart, guys, but I won't be trading this index. There'll be more a case of keeping an eye on this to see if there's any opportunities to trade the yen short. And then Swiss franc as well. It's running flat at the moment. Certainly looks like it could well drop a little bit, but I'd be more inclined for that to do that, guys. It doesn't mean it's going to do that. Of course, it could just continue flat for a while. But if you were looking for this to go long, that would certainly could be a good position to try and trade long from. Now, I don't have any fundamental news that says that's going to happen, so I'm not suggesting you jump in long into Swiss franc. But as we go through the charts, maybe we see some more evidence, or enough to make me go away and do a bit more research on the Swiss franc. NASDAQ. Well, I love it when I get a forecast correct, guys. I mean, you couldn't ask for better than that, could you? Now, the problem is that even though I predicted that, when it's dropping, you still, rush to safety. but didn't it come out nicely? Now, this is where anyone who stayed in growth stocks would have done really well last week after getting battered for a week or so. Then last week they would have made a really nice recovery. So I assume our old pal Jay has done really well last week, guys. We'll take a look at it during the week. I don't want to interrupt the flow today. But so what's going to come next? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it came up into that area and then started giving us a bit of a deeper drawdown, just based on years of looking at these charts, guys. Doesn't mean it has to happen, but often if you're running in a channel, two things will happen in a channel, guys. Either you'll get a massive breakout off it like that, or it continues up in the channel until you get a change of trend and you start a new structure. But I don't see anything at the minute that would start a new structure other than a massive crash. We're not expecting a massive crash in the markets. What we are expecting is a correction. And then, well, why wouldn't it do that? Well, because it's already well oversubscribed. It's well overbought. I hope that's good English. They've come up so much this last while. We're looking at banks starting to draw back some of that money that they've been pumping into the system at some point. So I can't see it doing that. Of course, it could always run flat, but even to run flat, it would have to do something like that, guys. So I think we're in for probably quite a bumpy ride. I'll probably be adjusting the account accordingly, and maybe if it runs flat or even drops a little bit, we might see an uptick in gold. Dow Jones, it's doing what we're maybe suggesting that the Nasdaq could do. It's running flat already. So from here, what I would do with this, if I were trying to trade this chart, would be if it drops to there. Remember, it's always if then, guys. If a chart does this or if an instrument does this, then you decide what you want to do with it. So if it were to drop, then I quite possibly would look to trade it long. S&P's broken the top. It's all-time high, guys. What's happening today? Just trying to look at Bloomberg here. Oh, red. Japan's green. India, China, Malaysia, all in the red. What else are you looking at there? Chinese tutoring firms extend sell-off as Beijing cracks down. Part of that over there is because the government, as you know, it's a communist government, guys. They just do what they want. Which is why I always find it a little bit dangerous to invest in Chinese companies. I have one on, I think, Baidu, and I'm not sure that I particularly want to stay in it with what's going on in China. Gold edges lower as investors wait for Fed meeting this week. It's not going to be good for my portfolio. Okay, so S&P, all-time highs. Not showing us a chart, guys. Let's see. They're still talking. Oh, Europe. Red across the board in Europe as well, folks. I imagine we're going to get a drawdown today. Nikkei, still in this corrective structure. At some point, these usually break out, guys. UK running flat, as they say there, it's in red. Part of the problem with Bloomberg is it's a news program and it likes to exaggerate everything, as all news people do, guys. So that red in the UK, there it is there, guys. It's nothing too much at the moment to get excited about. Ryanair's up. Pound's up against the dollar. German bonds yield is down, which is, I suppose, good. Okay. There's a little structure going on here. So you would probably not be surprised if this dropped again, eventually leading to a breakout. UK stocks are undervalued, guys, compared to where they were a year or so ago. If we go out to, say, the daily time scale, you can see they still haven't recovered from the drop last March, which probably means they're undervalued, guys. But they're different types of companies. They're not growth companies, guys. They're mainly big banks and mining companies and insurance companies and utilities and things like that. So nothing too exciting, but undervalued. And making money is exciting for me, regardless of whatever the company does. I don't care what the company does, so long as the share price goes up and I'm on the right side of it. France had a nice move up towards the end of last week. Let's go to 4 hours. But yet again, probably still undervalued compared to where they were. Let's go out. Where's last March on the daily? Oh, also, how did I miss that? They're not actually, they've pushed through. So that whole UK thing, guys, that's probably to do with Brexit. Also, over and above, over and above the drop due to the pandemic. But the thing is that most of these companies are multinationals, guys. They're not making their money in the UK. Oh, so Germany quite similar to France, guys. Look at that. My Bido's probably going to take a battering today, guys. Remember, that's a daily time scale. It's a big move. Now, what we have been saying with the Chinese market is more downside, guys. See what we've drawn here last week. More downside, then eventually long. So how much more downside would you want than that? Now, when these things happen, they're often oversold, guys. So if you are interested in getting involved in any Chinese stocks, maybe now's a good time to buy in because you're going to get them a lot cheaper than what they were. Obviously, you're looking at the individual chart and the individual company, and you have to do all the rest of the due diligence. But you could potentially pick them up cheaper now because of that sell-off. And the risk is that they come back up again. Or the risk is that they don't come back up again, should I say. The reward is that they come back up. China education hijacked by capital. Now, I don't know the full ins and outs of this story, to be quite honest, because I haven't really been tuning into it. Hong Kong, China 8 shares are down 4.9%. Hang Seng's down 4%. HS Tech's down 6%. New Oriental Hong Kong 47%. Oh, these are individual. Oh, China Best Study Education Group down 42%, folks. Tencent down 7%. Oh my goodness. I reckon Baidu will get thumped today as well. Yeah. So what do? Do you buy more of it? Do you dollar your average your dollar price down by buying more, or do you get out of it? That's the question we're going to have to ask. Okay. And then the Russell. Still within this flat correction it's been in all year, guys. It could correct lower. Now, I don't know because I don't trade the Russell, guys. I don't trade small caps in the US. But it certainly could, give you a 50% retracement of that move up. That's just that move, by the way, guys. That's not the whole move. Oh, where's the rest of the information? Oh, there's it there. So the whole move, I wouldn't suggest you get a 50% retracement of the whole move. but the whole move 50% retracement bring into there. A retracement of that, for me, just technically, guys, I've no idea whether it would or could or should, but technically, if this were to correct down into, well, let's bring it back up. 50% of that move up, certainly you'd start looking for some bargains, wouldn't you? Okay, let's get over to the currencies. And by the way, do you see this move here, guys? I was going through some of my old training videos, which are still relevant. The training's relevant, but I did them a couple of years ago. I did them back over here, and we were talking about the fact that this needed to correct up before dropping again, guys. And that's obviously it moved higher than I expected initially, but we got the downside to it as well, because it basically said this should be an ABC. That's exactly what turned out. So I forecasted, the general direction from here, which was April 2018 right through to there. And then from there, I've said it'll run flat. So, there is a long way between getting a forecast right and trading it correctly. But getting the forecast right is the first step, and you'll never trade it correctly if you don't get the forecast right. So we did really well there. I'm really pleased that I did that, and I'll do a little video on that, just taking you back, showing you the charts and whatever I did back then and what we were saying back then, and then we'll progress it through just to let you see the forecast. And then, as I say, from there I said it would run flat. We didn't know whether it would, run like that, or whether it would just run flat like that, or maybe it would dip a little bit more. But from there, we more or less said, you can see the lines there and there. Initially, it was there and there. And then JP Morgan said they expected the euro to strengthen. So I pushed that line to there and said, okay, that's potentially our range. Now, so far, it's not doing anything near that downside. But at the moment, you see that, guys, that is either an ending diagonal or a running flat. Now, depending on what the Fed say on Wednesday, that will either break short or go long. I know that's not much of a help in itself. But what we've got to try and do is determine which of those two things is it going to do. My inkling is that it's going to break short and it's going to stay within this bound. That doesn't mean I'm piling loads of money in there in the off chance that it drops. But what I may do is, if it makes a sudden move short, and to be honest, yeah, it's because of that divergence, guys, as this is moving up. This is dropping off, or even if you take it from there, there's still a bit of a movement short as this is pushing up. So it's going up with less and less momentum, which usually indicates an ending diagonal, guys. You've had an impulse, you get an ending diagonal, and then it drops. Now, it's very, very important we get this chart right, because if we can get this chart right, we can then trade all of the other, as I said earlier, we can trade all of the other major pairs, or look for trades in the other major pairs with confidence. So we'll keep looking at it during the week. I get the feeling, I don't know, because if the Fed are a little bit hawkish, it'll go long. Then it's a running flat. Okay, that's the problem for the week, guys. Still looks like it wants to drop. See that. See that. Potentially that. Just trying to find other examples of where it was blatantly obvious what it was going to do. Here, to see it stacking, guys, and then off it drops. That one didn't. Now, that one surprised me, but I remember that one well. There was a big EU decision, and the day before there had been a big, or the day after there was a big decision. I think it was the day before, because the EU's, ECB's usually Thursday and the Fed's Wednesday. And it actually took off in the complete opposite direction from what I was expecting. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the weeks and months, guys. Just trying to see what's there. This is one that I despise the fact that the TradingView makes these so difficult, firstly to find, and secondly to highlight, because there's obviously a story in there, guys. It keeps flashing. There. Is the dollar heading back to form? To form probably an ending diagonal. A double top. Yeah, that's why we were looking for it to drop, folks. Because from here, we had forecast that you'd maybe get a double top, a drop to correct that move up, and then off you go again. I don't think this will run. It's too long ago. No. Where was that chart again? Was this one? So we were wondering if it was going to head back up and create a double top and then drop. Well, it headed back up, didn't really do what we expected. It probably formed a little running flat and then broke out. There was no clear divergence. You can see there was no clear divergence between there and there. This didn't come up in a massive. It came up there. So on a daily time scale, I think we were looking for an ending diagonal. You see it? See the ending diagonal? We did get an ending diagonal. You see it, guys? Up it comes. It's on the daily time scale. And then look at that divergence as it's continuing to go up. But then we got a spike, and that's what caught me out, because I was looking here for an ending diagonal to drop, and it didn't. It gave us that spike, and then the drop came. And that drop was something that we had been looking for from around here somewhere, because we'd been in there. We were looking for it to go up, looking for it to drop, and then looking for it to continue, and then get a drawdown. Now, that's what happened, except not exactly, because it went higher for longer, because it ran in this corrected channel, and then we got the big drop, guys. But you can see that's supposed to represent that, that's supposed to represent that, and that was the bit that didn't happen. We got that little zigzag, and then off it went again, guys. This was really tough to trade, because every time you got your stop to zero, a day or two later, you were stopped out again. It was really, really tough. With a different trading strategy, probably could have traded it better, which is one of the reasons why I changed my trading strategy through here. Okay, so having said all of that, you get that bunching up and then you get a drop. None of these are exact, guys. Oops. So, given what happened over there, I wouldn't be surprised if on Thursday we got a spike up and then we got a drop. That's why I'm in two minds, guys. I'm looking for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got that first. So let's keep an eye on that and see if that works out. And then let's get out of the daily, back down to 4 hours, guys. And then let's rush through this now, because this is drawing out a little bit long. So obviously then this will do the opposite. I'm looking for it to go long. Let's see what the Fed says. Maybe we get a spike and then it goes. Pound, looking for a little setup there for that to go long, but obviously depending on what the Fed says. If the Fed is dovish, then it will go long. If the Fed, you could get a spike before it goes. So I'm still reluctant to trade any of these at the minute, folks. So nothing's changed. These are all still the same. Looking on the higher time scale for it to go, but we could get a dip first. US CAD, this could push up before going. Have to have a look at the oil price. This one will let us know, so I'll be keeping an eye on that one on Thursday. Now, I don't tend to trade the news, guys, but you never know. I might just be a wee bit gun-ho. This has come up into potential double top. Is it about to drop? Yen. I'll leave that one out, guys. It's too many variables in that one. Then this one, yet again, you could get a bit of a spike up, but I'm looking for it to do that. China, still running flat at the moment. With all the turmoil that's going on in China at the minute, I wouldn't want to trade it. Gold. Now, they said this morning, see Bloomberg would do my head in. You get a tiny little move and they're telling you that gold's dropped. That hasn't really dropped, has it? That's pushing up. I'm looking for that to break out, guys. Silver. Maybe it looks like it's going to go, guys. But I wouldn't be surprised if you got another leg down on it before it goes. You're trading this more long-term as an insurance policy rather than a jumpy in and out trade. Do you know what I mean? So if it drops any further, I'll buy PSLV. And if gold were to drop any further, I'd probably buy PHSY, isn't it? PHSY. I think that's gold. We looked at it the other day, guys. If I trade it, I'll let you know. Well, there it is. That's silver. Bitcoin. There's the move in Bitcoin, guys. Now, when I sold, as I say, I woke up in the middle of the night and just checked it. We're around where we are at the minute, guys, because it had spiked up and dropped back down again. I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to take my profit. Can it continue on up? Certainly it can, but I've got that covered in Coinbase. So far as our account's concerned, this trading account we're talking about, eToro account, if it were to drop, in other words, if you got a bit of profit taking, would certainly buy in again there. Oil. Looks like it's going to run flat. EuroCAD. I prefer to trade it down, but it's been running flat through here a long time. EUROAUS. Well, if it came, it has a bit of a channel on here, so all I'm looking for is if it dropped down to there, maybe I would look to trade it on, but obviously we'd have to look at the reasons why it dropped. There's nothing much here, guys, that I'm interested in. That's running in a channel. It's at the bottom at the minute. Maybe you take a chance to trade it up. Euro yen. We will start to cover stocks as well, guys, by the way. I'm just getting myself back up to speed. I wasn't trading I was trading, but I wasn't recording for the best part of a month, guys. So we will get back up to speed, and we will start talking about stocks as well in here. Euro yen, potentially, particularly if the dollar drops, guys. Euro Swiss, pound CAD. Not sure about any of these guys. Pound Oz, yet again, it's the old thing. It's at the top of the channel, guys. Of course, it could break out, but I'd prefer to wait for it to come back down again before thinking about trading it. Pound New Zealand. So that must be a little bit of weakness on the Aussie, because look at where the New Zealand is against the pound. So that's looking like it's ready to break out. Pound Swiss, potentially. Pound Euro. Do you know what will move the pound, guys? If this Delta variant starts becoming null and void. And pound yen, they all look the same. They've all got this correction. Potentially a breakout. Aussie yen, looking to trade that up maybe. I'm not trading any of these guys. I'm just flashing through them because nothing much has changed since last week. I'm dying to trade this up, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Aussie Swiss, potentially long. Aussie CAD. Oh. Oops. Aussie CAD. It's pushing down there, guys. Is there going to be another, is it a little pullback? Maybe it runs flat and then it drops again. Swiss yen. Now, that structurally looks like it wants to go short, but I suspect, particularly if gold goes long, that'll go off yet, but I'm not confident enough in it to trade it yet. We had that little setup and then it dropped, but potentially that could drop as well, guys. But CAD Swiss, this is one of my favorite ones to trade, guys. Maybe I'll take a little, why is that over there? Let's get rid of that. Maybe I'll take a little chance in this, folks, because I love trading this. And if it goes wrong on me, then you just add to the position and then up it comes again at some point. CAD yen. Sometimes this CAD yen has moved, faster is not the right word, but you know what I mean. Giving us a better return than the CAD Swiss. But I wouldn't trade both of them because they both generally move for the same reasons, or they were earlier in the year because they'd all been overbought. The Swiss and the yen were overbought during the crash, and then they were slowly coming off. And we've kind of lost that a little bit now because we're looking for direction on them now. That little bonus that was there has dissipated. You're always looking for something that says to you that currency is overvalued or undervalued at the moment because of this reason, and therefore it should move back to its average. And that's the thing you trade. And of course, it takes weeks and months for that, so you get lots of little trades over that period of time. But at the moment, I don't particularly have any of those. What's this? FTSE down 0.3, CAC down 0.38, DAX down 0.53. Nothing to get too excited about. New Zealand yen. Looking to trade this long. The only reason it wouldn't go long would be if there was a drawdown in the market. New Zealand CAD, same thing. Oh, no, it's not the same thing. No, this is a different matter. I don't like trading this pair because I don't know enough about them. Remember, I worked the 80-20 rule, guys. And it's like this. Or should have written it the other way around, but you know what I mean. 80% of your results take 20% of your time. If you want to get 100%, in other words, if you really want to get into the details about something, then you're going to use up the other 20%. If you're going to move this, will cost you 80% of your time. So you have 100% of your time and 100% of results, as it were. So what I tend to do is, and it's not exact, use 20% of your time to get 80% idea of what's going on. And then if you want a bit more information, then use up maybe another 20% of your time focusing on those things that your initial run through, which is what this is, has kind of gone, oh, that's interesting. And then spend your next 20% of your time getting 80% of that correct. So in other words, we skim over things, we get a general idea of things, But you cannot get to the stage where you know everything about everything, because you would be at it 24 hours a day and you'd be so exhausted that you probably wouldn't. Your emotions would be all over the place. So, you know, that's the reason I go through 50 charts rather than 5 or 6 charts. And we're looking for opportunities. And if we see them, we see them. If we don't, doesn't matter. We'll scan it again tomorrow. And that suits my personality as well, because I'm not an attention to detail person, guys. And if you are, then trade differently. You know, find one thing. There are people who just trade the dollar. That's all they trade. There are people who just trade the euro, you know. But because I put these out live, I've ended up covering 50 charts or whatever amount of charts it is, and stocks on top of it. If we go over to the stocks, we when we start doing the stocks, we'll be looking at all of these stocks and adding other ones on a weekly basis, guys. So it's very hard to be specific when you're covering so much information. New Zealand Swiss at the moment, I don't know, but potentially long. Is that the last one? It is. Okay, guys, that will do for today. We'll speak again tomorrow. Maybe something's happened, maybe something hasn't happened. And then, as I've indicated over the last few weeks, something needs to start happening for me to start doing the little summaries. And I'll say, hey, today we're looking at dollar because we think it's going to break out long, or we're looking at gold because we think it's going to do whatever. And we'll do little 10-minute summaries of these. But at the moment, there's nothing particularly there that I'm keen on putting money into. So we'll not bother with a little summary today. Okay, guys, I'll speak to you all again tomorrow. Bye for now.